Hello everyone, my name is Abhishek and welcome back to my channel. Let me start this video by showing you a magic. So I'll create a file called AWS underscore resource underscore list.sh. So it's a shell script file, but I am not going to write even a single line of shell script in this, but I'm going to generate the complete shell scripting file. If you watch carefully, I'll just write a comment saying that this script will list the active AWS resources in the account. That's it. I'm not going to write anything more except for the comments so that I can instruct the script generator. In this case, the script generator is a plugin. I will talk about that plugin, drawbacks, alternatives, everything. But first, watch this magic. So here it started giving me some instructions. But initially, I will just say generate the code or list the following AWS resources, because I don't want to generate all the AWS resources. There are 200 plus AWS services. So I only want to generate for few services. So I will say the first service is EC2 instance. Second service is S3 bucket. Third is RDS. Fourth is VPC. Fifth is subnet. Let's take 10 for example. Okay. Even these things, I'm not writing the code. It is giving me some hints. So let's say these are the things that I need. Now I want the script to generate code which will list active EC2 instances, S3 buckets, RDS, VPC, subnet, security group, route table, internet gateway, elastic IP, and load balancer on my AWS account. So it is giving me more comments how to use the script, and now it will start with the prerequisites. See, it is also hinting me with the prerequisites where the first thing is it says, okay, is it okay if I say AWS CLI must be installed? Perfect. AWS CLI must be configured. Yes, it's good. These are the two prerequisites that I need. So immediately it started with the first prerequisite. Okay. So check if AWS CLI is installed. That means when you run this script, first it will check if AWS CLI is installed on your machine. See, it generated the code. I have my hands up. So I'll just press the tab and the code is generated. Now, do you want any more prerequisite? Like it forgot to generate the code for this particular prerequisite. So we can write a comment saying that AWS check if AWS CLI is configured. So it forgot, but once I give the hint, once I gave the comment, now it generated the code to verify if AWS CLI is configured. Now I can move ahead with EC2 instances, listing all the EC2 instances. So list EC2 instances. So it generated a comment. After that, it generated the AWS CLI command to list out all the active AWS resources. Next, it will go with S3 buckets. So it will also generate for the S3 bucket. Instantly, it is going to generate for RDS. So all the 10 AWS services that we have, it is going to generate for each and every service. We can also make this script more complicated. We can just give it more instructions. For example, okay, it is going to generate for all the services. I hope you understood. Now, let me tell it that, okay, first of all, ask or user should provide two command line arguments. Okay, where first one is or I can just write it here. First one is AWS region. Second one is, let's say, AWS service name. Okay. For example, these ones. Now it will also verify if user has provided those command line arguments. So it has generated the code where it is verified if two command line arguments are provided or not. So this way, if you know the logic for the code, you can use this extension where it can generate even 1,000 lines of shell script for you. Now, before I show you how to install this, it's a disclaimer and very important point. Who should use it? If you are in the beginner stage, use it only for your learning purpose. Do not directly use it in your projects because at times this can also give you the mistakes. When you're using for shell script or things that are there from a long time, LLMs generating errors is very, very less. But if you're using for something new, let's say for the Terraform files, then you have to be very careful. Or if you are generating some Kubernetes manifest, you have to be very, very careful because end of the day, I was using a LLM extension and it does not have a lot of information about the modern things. So if you are a beginner, use it very, very carefully. But if you are an experienced person, I will highly recommend this. Beginners can use it for learning purpose. Experienced people, when they are working in their organizations, literally I have generated this code in a couple of minutes. So you can save a lot of time by using this extension called GitHub Copilot. So this is not a promotional video. I'm just explaining because I use it on my day-to-day basis. It will help you a lot. It helps me a lot because as a YouTuber, as a content creator, and also a person as a working, I always look for developer productivity tools which can improve my efficiency. This is one tool which increases my efficiency drastically, but there are drawbacks. Wait for it and also wait for the alternatives that I'm going to recommend. It's very simple, straightforward. You just need to search for GitHub Copilot and search for the extension with this particular logo and install it. Just click on the install button and it will ask you for login. And only if you take a paid subscription. So GitHub Copilot is almost $10 to $15. So you can search for it and you can find the price depending upon the place. Also, it might vary. So you can search for the extension, take a subscription of it. If you ask me, Abhishek, is it worth $10 or $15? Yes, it is worth. You can definitely take it because it provides a value for your time. Considering the drawbacks, after watching this video, you can decide if you want to take it or not. Now let's talk about the drawbacks of it. Because it looks very cool and it generates a lot of code, what drawbacks will it have? First, and the most important thing, the extension that you see here, GitHub Copilot, is making calls to the public LLMs. Sometimes it makes call to the open AI APIs as well. So if you're working in a sensitive organization, or if you're working for a company, you need to make sure you don't provide any sensitive information to it because your code can be compromised or any security threat related thing. So make sure if you're working in a sensitive uh, place or if you're working in an organization, you take the approval from your manager before using this extension. It is very, very important. Second drawback. When you're working as a DevOps engineer, you have a lot of tools like Terraform, Kubernetes manifest, or Argo CD manifest, or any kind of DevOps related things. Most of these things are very new in the space. That means all the DevOps related tools, at the most, they are available from last 7 to 8 years. So the amount of data for the LLMs to process is less. Shell scripting is there from a lot of time. That's why I took shell scripting as an example. The efficiency is more. Chances for the errors are very, very less. But if I write the same thing for generating active resources from AWS using Terraform, there can be some mistakes because the data is less. So especially DevOps engineers, if you're using scripting purpose, you can rely on it. But if you're using for infrastructure as code, or if you're using for any kind of application development related activities, then be very cautious with it. Now, the first point was very important, that is security concerns, right? So Abhishek, how can I mitigate that security concerns? There is one alternative to it, which is pieces. So you can use another thing called pieces for developers, but it requires some configuration, some setups in your local machine. So that's why I wanted to do a dedicated video for it. I will be doing it in the next week, where pieces does not make calls to your public LLMs like OpenAI. So using pieces, you can actually install their own OS or their own environment kind of a thing. And whenever you're using the pieces extension in the Visual Studio Code, it makes API calls with the local LLMs. So that is the best advantage. And the second thing is pieces is completely free. Like GitHub Copilot, you don't have to pay for using this Visual Studio extension. As I told you, it requires some setup, configuration, and it takes some 20-30 minutes for me to explain. So I will make a dedicated video on pieces where I will show you how to install the pieces OS, how to configure the plugin, and how to use local LLMs with your pieces Copilot. So this is all about the video. I wanted to showcase that such plugins exist. And as a DevOps engineer, as a developer, you should definitely start using these things because they can improve your productivity almost 2 to 3 times, especially if you are writing shell scripts or Python related scripts. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you found it informative. See you all in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.